Hi everyone, I'm Deborah Nell and I'm here again with Marissa from LuxLiv Properties. We're doing a jam session which is Just Ask Me, and she's the best person to ask about anything to do with property. The knowledge that this lady has in her head about property is amazing. The question I want to ask you today is, obviously your job is to sell my house, but I can help by making sure my house is presentable so that you have the best opportunity to sell the house. What do you need me to do to make sure that my house is presentable?
Well, thank you very much. That's a great question, and I do believe that the seller and the agent should always work in unison and not clash in their ideas. But the best practices when you're preparing your house for selling, there's quite a few points we can go through. But as a seller, first of all the clutter must be tucked away. And I know we all accumulate so much stuff over the years, but if we can say under the stairs, the storage, or in the garage, and notify your agent where all the clutter is pushed into so we don't accidentally open that door. So then the second thing is, we all love our pets. They are our, often, you know, we treat them as our children as well. But when you know there are people coming into the house, please either take your pets for a walk or put them into one of the rooms, again into the garage maybe. It's only 20 minutes, nothing really too terrible is going to happen to your doggies. But usually you can't predict whether the buyer really is into animals or not. And even if they are into animals, you don't want them distracted looking at your pets rather than looking at the house.
Makes sense.
Then over and above the clutter, we also want the house as open as possible. So even though you might have amazing curtains, open the curtains. We want to see the indoor-outdoor experience. We want to see the garden come in. So the curtains must be open, the windows must be open. We want the fresh breeze to come through the house. Some freestanding houses also have burglar bars. If you can have them open as well, that will be amazing. If you can't, of course, it is what it is, but our patio doors and everything else must be open. And now, bearing in mind that the windows and the curtains are open, the windows must be clean. So of course, with the decluttering, the cleaning of the windows, cleaning of the floors. And now we move on to scents. It needs to smell lovely. And there's all sorts of tricks. Some people will brew a pot of coffee just before the arrival of the visitors. Other people will put a few drops of vanilla essence and turn the oven on and put it in the oven, so then it creates the scent. Of course, you can use the scents in every room. You know, there's all sorts of amazing stuff these days, but a well-smelling house is very important. But if the smell is of food or drink, coffee or cookies, absolutely marvelous. And now, probably the most contentious issue for some of our sellers, you need to remove yourself from the house.
Aren't I the best person to sell the house? I mean, I know all its features. You really don't want the seller there.
You do. So first of all, my job as a good agent is to have a conversation with you prior to bringing any buyers and ask you, what is it that you love about the house? Because you've lived in the house and there might be features that are not necessarily immediately visible to an agent or to a buyer. But this needs to be in my head.
Yes.
With you removed from the house, the potential buyer becomes super comfortable and they can then comfortably raise objections. And when you hear objection, that's not a bad thing. You know, people think, oh no, they must never see anything negative. There is no single house that's all perfect. Giving them the ability to raise objections comfortably without feeling they're going to insult the owner gives me, the agent, the opportunity to say, well, you might think that this room is not going to fit your table, but let's measure it together and the table will actually fit beautifully. Or you are saying the room is a bit dark, but have you considered if we open all the shutters, there will be a lot of natural light. None of those conversations can comfortably take place whilst the owner is there, because the buyer automatically feels they have to just be polite and they have to just say nice to everything. Me as the agent then walk out of the house with the buyer, not knowing that whether the buyer likes it, not like it, or whether there's certain objections that are very easily surmountable, and we don't have that opportunity to say, okay, it actually is going to work for us. So please go for a walk and
Leave the
please
house.
don't try and help. And I promise you, if there are questions they come up with that I cannot answer, anything they ask, I will make a note of that on the spot. I will be honest with them and say, wow, this is a question I wasn't anticipating, I don't have the answer. And I will make sure within 10 minutes of exiting the house, I've spoken to you and I've given them the feedback.
What about show houses? Is that something you do, and is it something worth looking into? Because then everybody, I can be out for the day, take my dogs for the day, and you can have the house to
Yes.
show.
So it's, again, there's pros and cons to that as well. On the one hand, show houses are very traditional in South African property market. People are so used to taking a drive on a Sunday afternoon and going and walking into houses and so on. So show house is a good tool. We have to consider security, so it has to be in a secure environment because the agent and the owner's security is very important. Furnished houses, very difficult to just welcome anyone out. You need to screen also the potential buyer. So I would not recommend the show house for every possible house, but what it does very well is it creates a marketing tool to advertise a house and maybe do show house by appointment only. So we stagger the potential visitors, and by advertising it by appointment, two things happen. All the portals, your Property 24 private property, they advertise it as a show house. We advertise it on all our multiple social media channels. We get the calls, but then we arrange appointments 20 to 30 minutes apart, and we make sure we know who the people are coming through that door. In that case, perfect.
And each of those people gets individual attention from you.
Absolutely.
It doesn't feel like a sausage factory with all these people
Yes.
moving through the house.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so the basic rules are put on the best possible show possible in terms of your house. No clutter, no pets, and no owners.
That's it.
Thank you, Marissa.
It's a pleasure.